friends, and welcome back to my channel. Happy Wednesday! It's the day before Thanksgiving, so I hope everyone is doing some fun prepping for Thanksgiving and getting the house cleaned and decorated. Or if you guys are packing to go on a trip to visit family and friends, that is very exciting. I'm so excited to be jumping again into another chapter with you guys. It is a little bit longer, so I hope you all are settled in. I hope you are ready to see what Leon has cooked up for you. If you are interested in finding out more about this book and where to purchase this book, I will be leaving all that fun stuff at the end of the video, so please stay tuned for that. And without further ado, let's jump right back into this adventure. Chapter 32. Leon had heard Castilia sing. She had an average voice. He tried to get her attention, but then she began to sing. He watched from his hiding place as the other 4 men took their rest. Only one of the men was keeping watch. Leon thanked the elements for that. From what Castilia and Starlin had told Leon of the prince's men, it was going to be difficult to fool these highly trained, combat-ready men. He was determined to get his friend back. Leon backed off slowly to form a rescue plan. For now, Castilia was relatively safe as she could be. What could he do? Suddenly, it hit him. That's it! He now had a plan and knew what he had to do. He set to work getting things prepared. Despite it being dark out, Leon's eyes adjusted fast to the dark. He began fashioning the items in the dark. He had been fashioning them ever since his father first took him hunting with him. Leon worked tirelessly through the night. He paused now and then when he heard the men stirring. Then, once the men settled back down, he continued his work. He had renewed energy that came alive and kept him focused. Soon, a substantial pile had been building up by Leon's feet. At the very first hints of light started to emerge, Leon headed out and began setting up for the soldiers to come in the direction of the path that he had found last night while collecting the supplies he needed. He had to sometimes duck and listen and stop what he was doing to ensure the men didn't hear him. He kept working until he was satisfied that this would have to do, and he hoped it would work. Now the sun began to rise, and he could hear faintly that the soldiers were stirring, and he got ready for action. The forest songbirds began singing a merry little chirping song, and little flying insects began buzzing around. The hunter got into a new hiding position where he had a clear view of the trail the soldiers were going to travel on. 10 minutes later, he could hear horses' hooves coming closer. Leon observed as one of the men led Castilia by a rope lead and was letting her walk behind his horse. Two rode in front, another in the middle with the legend, and 2 behind them. Good plan, Leon thought, but not good enough for what I have in store for you. The 2 horses in the lead with their riders unsuspectingly snapped at the twig. It caused a chain reaction because it was attached to a hidden trap vine, causing both horses to crash to the ground. The men were startled, and the leader began shouting out orders. Leon could not miss. As swiftly as the animals went down, he used his bow and shot both the men in the throat with lightning speed from the adrenaline coursing through his veins. This even caught Castilia off guard. The other 3 remaining men were now on full alert with weapons drawn. 2 that were in the back now rode near back now rode next to their comrades in the middle that held Castilia. "Who's out there?" the leader called out in a no-nonsense voice. When there came no reply, he grabbed the lead rope and used brute strength to pull Castilia forward. She remained silent and let the man's imagination do the work. She smiled to herself. If she ever saw Leon again, she would tell him nice work. The three continued onward, their weapons still drawn and ready for the next attack. It would be harder to handle now that there were only three, and Castilia was still behind them. No matter, he thought, he could handle this. Leon got the vine trip ready. Just a bit closer. Now! He again let the trip vine do the hard part. However, the men were also on guard as well. One shot an arrow in Leon's direction. After he had shot the other two swiftly and with accuracy, they fell to the ground slain, never to rise again. The only remaining soldier left was the leader. "All right, come out and surrender. Just don't harm me," he said in a pleading voice. Leon remained motionless. This was also obviously not a good idea. Leon had to think fast. He still had one more trick for such an occasion. He gave no answer. The man got off his horse. Get on your back now," he shouted at the legend. Castilia's heart beat fast. The seasoned soldier drew his dagger. He had a cruel glint in his eye. The legend quickly scanned the landscape. Nothing. She saw no sign of Leon anywhere. Castilia looked at her captor and said, "No." He used his strong leg and brutally kicked out, causing her to fall on her back with a hard thud. The soldier smiled a wicked smile at her. Who's ever out there? I'm going to count to 3. If you don't release all your trip vines, I will kill your precious legend," he called out while moving the tip of the dagger around Castilia's neck. 1, 2, he began, and knelt in a squatting position above Castilia. The legend shouted back angrily, "Don't do it! My life isn't worth it!" The cruel man leaned closer to her. He smelled a foul, rancid mixture of rotten egg and too much alcohol. It was also evident that he had not bathed for quite some time. He whispered in her ear, "I wonder what we are going to do while we wait." Suddenly, he began kissing her neck and grabbed at her shirt with his free hand. He paused and looked up as she attempted to get away. 2, 2.5, he said almost coyly. Castilia was no damsel in distress. She was in distress, but would make her captive struggle and did all she could to resist him. Her hands and feet were still bound, but with thick rope. Plus, he pinned her to the ground with his weight. Leon regretted having to release the trip vines, but what choice did he have? The soldier stopped kissing her. "Good, you're smart, whoever you are. Why don't you come out, and we can share her?" There was no reply to this statement. The man scoped the surrounding area before speaking again. "No? All right. More for me," he said gleefully, and began unbuckling his belt that held up his trousers. Castilia bared her teeth and snapped at her attacker. "Relax now, my pretty. We are going to have some fun before we move on." he said eerily to her, and Castilia knew exactly what he was on his mind. Cus, could, Castilia could see struggling was pointless, so she changed tactics. Castilia made a smiling face at the man on top of her. He noticed the change and smiled. Change smiled and finally took off his belt. When he leaned down to kiss her again, she gathered a large glob of spit and spat in the man's face. "Ah, you bitch!" he shouted in her face before slapping her across. "Ah, you bitch!" he shouted in her face before slapping her hard across the face. The blow to the face stung, but she had suffered worse injuries over the years. She stared daggers back at him and barked defiantly. "Funny, I was going to say the same thing about you." Leon made his way toward them. As much as he hated seeing Castilia in this situation, this gave him time to adjust his plan. The soldier was about to rape her, so Castilia did the only thing she could do. As soon as he was about to commit the crime, she shot up in a sitting position and bit as hard as she could into the man's neck. The soldier's body recoiled in pain, and he released her from his grip while screaming in agony. Footsteps were quickly approaching. The man looked up at whom they belonged to. It was Leon. He was brandishing his bow and with an arrow notched and ready. There was a cold, grave look in the legend's friend's eyes that conveyed there would be no changing his mind. You are with the legend. What do you want, boy? I have no time to teach you a lesson in manners. Besides, this is not your concern," the man said angrily that Leon had interrupted him. Leon appeared that he had a scheme in mind, and Castilia waited to see how she could help. "Listen there, friend. This bitch," he hated using that word, but he had to in order to pull off what he had planned, "is my property. You see, I secretly work for the prince, and was taking her there myself before the gnomes and your men attacked us." The man before him didn't look convinced. He wiped the blood from his wound with the back of his hand. "Then why, boy, were you letting the legend do all the leading?" Leon never glanced at Castilia. "Well, I had to play the part to gain her trust, make it look convincing." The soldier wasn't quite sure he believed him. The older man crossed his arms and leaned his body against a tree before speaking again. "I tell you what, boy, why don't you come along with me to the prince's fortress? Then we will see if you are telling the truth." Castilia opened her mouth to speak, but Leon, without taking his eyes off the man, spoke to her. "No, you speak when I tell you to speak." Then he shook his head. "No, the prince will deny it as part of the scheme, but I tell you what, there is a better secluded spot to enjoy this witch. If you still want, we can both have a go at her. Eh? What do you say?" This proposition brought a smile to the soldier. "All right, boy, you have a deal." Leon just nodded as a sign of the deal. Castilia finally spoke up. "Why does everyone keep saying I'm a witch? Ugh, they're gross." The soldier moved to her and roughly grabbed her by the collar of her shirt as Leon led the way. It wasn't long before she was on her back again. The area was thicker with forest bushes and shrubs, along with bugs that fly here and there. "Why don't you go at her first, since you caught her?" "I can wait," Leon said, still in a false friendly voice. The older man nodded greedily. He bent down and had his back to Leon. He was almost upon Castilia again when, at the last second, Leon used his foot and kicked the soldier down a slope and into a bog that was dirty, mucky, and deceivingly deep. The man broke the surface of the bog with an aggressive yell. Leon quickly set to work cutting Castilia's bonds. He let her see he led her to see what became of her captor. Leon let out a loud whistle. A large wake began to advance on the soldier. He, in vain, tried to make his way to dry land, but even with his light armor, it weighed him down. Leon called down to him, "Swim fast. My pet is hungry." The man turned in the water, but alas, there was no chance of escape. No, no, no! Help! Don't let him hurt me! No! There was a great splashing, thrashing, flailing, while the water churned like water on a high sea in a storm. Then there was nothing but the sound of Little Boy emerging from the water and up the bank to his owner. Castilia's heart leapt for joy. She knelt and hugged She knelt down and hugged the now full-grown reptile and spoke to him in a cooing voice. "Oh, what a good water dweller you are! I'm so proud of you. I hope he tasted good." The water dweller looked up at her with gleaming blackish-gray eyes. He pulled her hair playfully as if he understood. Castilia stood back up and turned her attention to Leon. "What did I tell you about leaving me and getting the orbs? My life is not as important as yours." Here she paused, then threw her arms around Leon. "Thank you for not listening to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you," she said, tears streaming down her face. Leon could tell she really meant it. It felt good knowing that he could also be the leader from them and come up with plans and execute them by himself. Leon broke their hug and looked at her. "Shh, it's all over now. I will always be here for you as a friend. Come now, let's dry those eyes and go find the land orb in this western plains." He took her gently by the hand and led her to her horse. She breathed in deeply and allowed herself to refocus. Once astride her steed, she looked at Leon. She gave him an encouraging smile, then said, "Lead the way, hunter of the orbs." With that, Leon took the lead upon his own horse, with the legend following next to him, and the water dweller bringing up the rear. So that is all the chapter for today. I know it was a little longer than the previous ones. I hope you enjoyed it. I may or may not be making a book chapter on Thursday just because it's Thanksgiving and we all are busy on Thanksgiving. So I will be seeing you guys Friday for the next exciting chapter. If you like this chapter, please give it a big like, subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you thought the traps were, or and if you like this video, please share with friends and family. If you are interested in purchasing this book, it can be found on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Apple iBooks, and lots of other fun places. Also, I have a Facebook page dedicated to all things about my book. I try to write an article Monday through Friday. The last article that I wrote was about my characters, how I came up with a different hair color, and my creative process in writing this book. It is all, again, like I said, spoiler free, so you can enjoy the articles without being spoiled if you are reading along with me or listening along with me. So I highly encourage you to check all that stuff out. I can also be found on TikTok at Idaho Disney Book Dragon or something close to that. I can't remember. And I can also be found on Instagram. I am also trying to get to 200 subscribers, because when I do, I'm going to be doing a very, very exciting, fun giveaway. So if you know any friends that like the kind of stuff that I do on my channel, please send them my way. I will also be on Thursday making a very, very fun video for you guys, so please stay tuned for that. And I will see you guys on Friday for another exciting adventure, as they say in my books, and I forgot to say it in the last 2 videos, so I apologize. As they say in my book, may the elements protect you. Until Friday, everybody. Bye-bye for now.